And yet, when it comes to gun violence, Americans are asked to rack their brains to find a way to solve it.
He'll remember the place that we were eating at in Paris, but we get to, what was the name of the restaurant again?
All the black plates.
We're going to the ketchup on the lobster.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, you're going through an exquisite meal in Paris, and David and I will have to rack brains for the name of the place.
We're making. Ever had something on the tip of your tongue and just can't remember it? It's possible a Ouija board might help.
I started taking journalists' TV cameras around the back of supermarkets, showing them the sheer quantity of food being put in there, and a lot of it was still within its date, and those dates themselves were suspect. So that really kicked off an awareness-raising campaign. We got a lot of press for that, and it started this dialogue. First of all in the United Kingdom, and then increasingly in other countries. I eventually got round to writing my second book, which was The Waste: Uncovering the Global Food Scandal, and I realized when I went and did the global research, I went around the world, I went up and down the supply chain, that actually that stuff in the back of the dumpsters, that was the tip of the iceberg. And in fact, most of the food waste that is occurring was further up in the supply chain, and principally on farms.
Now, whales, when they feed, blue whales, they open their mouths, they suck in thousands of litres of water, and they expel that water, leaving behind the krill in their baleen or their teeth. But whales can't tell the difference between krill and plastic. The Sri Lankan expedition was the start of an epic quest for us, but it posed more questions than it answered. If whales were consuming plastic in a pristine environment like the Indian Ocean, what was happening to marine life in oceans in other parts of the planet? And if, as we'd found out, that 350 million tons of plastic were being made that year, how much of that was ending up in the oceans? And if marine life in oceans around the world were consuming plastic, and we're at the top of the food chain, what did that mean for human health? Well, we gathered teams and crews and scientists, and we travelled for 4 years around the globe to 20 different locations to answer these questions for our film, A Plastic Ocean. Our investigation was relentless. For example, we found that 70% of plastic sinks. Now, what we'd seen then was just the tip of the iceberg. So we hired a research vessel and 2 submarines, and we went to the Mediterranean, and we travelled to the bottom of the Mediterranean, 1,600 metres below the surface, to see what happened to plastic in the absence of light and the absence of oxygen. We travelled thousands of kilometres to the Pacific, to islands where seabirds were ingesting plastic, mistaking it for food. One of the most powerful scenes in the film is of a heroic little seabird called a shearwater. These birds, chicks, were turning up dead in their hundreds on an island called Lord Howe Island.
There's some very dark
and when we opened the stomachs of these birds, we found them filled with plastic.
I get a lot of emails from students that ask me, Vanessa, how can I remember vocabulary? I always watch videos or podcasts or movies, and then all of the words just flow right out of my mind. They go in one ear and out the other. One of the keys to remembering vocabulary or grammar or really anything in English is to have a lot of input, to use it and hear it in a lot of different situations, or to read. Reading is a fabulous way to remember what you're learning. As you're reading, you're going to see real vocabulary, real grammar, beautiful sentences, and you're going to immerse yourself in English.